No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken episode number 320. And I'm very excited today because I am face to face in our interview studio with Daniel O'Reilly, who you may well know as Dapper Laughs. This is going to be a fascinating conversation. I've wanted to speak to him for such a long time because Daniel really was one of the first victims of comedy cancellation. But the great news is that he is fighting back and is now one of the voices that I trust through his comedy, through his commentary, to reveal what's really going on in the United Kingdom today. So he is standing by for our special Uncancelled interview. Thank you so much for being with us today. Of course, there is no Uncancelled after show this week while I am in Australia and you're watching our special Uncancelled interviews. But it will return next Monday, so I would love you to sign up to our Substack, www.outspoken.live. As you know, it is our free speech community. I'm protected there from big tech cancellation, from lawfare. So if you like what we're doing here on Outspoken, then please do sign up to my Substack, www.outspoken.live. Greatest Britain and Union Jackass return next week as well. But now, let's go. So you may know Daniel O'Reilly as Dapper Laughs. He was, just over a decade ago, one of the rising stars of British comedy. Beloved by a mainstream audience, beloved by the mainstream media too. A star of ITV. And then I think one of those despicable, I describe it as a comedy cancellation, which would actually go on to precede so many other cancellations that we saw in the mainstream media. He lost everything for a joke. Now, he's totally fighting back now, independent, very, very popular on that circuit because he'll talk about the issues that the vast majority of comedians who are subjected to the woke mind virus will not. He also does very sharp political commentary. But before we speak to Daniel O'Reilly, Dapper Laughs, about exactly how he was able to fight back, I just want to remind you of what was utter hysteria back at his cancellation. And actually, this one really impacts me because I know what happens when the mainstream media want to destroy you. Once you have that target on your back and they hunt as a pack, as this cancellation proved, there is nothing you can do. And of course, I experienced it personally with my incident on GB News with Lawrence Fox. And what happened to Daniel was equally insane. And actually, it's only when you look back at this over a decade on and realize, oh my God, what they wanted to do was cancel a working class comedian with the people behind him who was representing the people because I believe his brand of comedy was becoming too powerful. Watch this.
Now, in the last hour, ITV have dropped the comedian Dapper Laughs from their schedules after 50,000 people signed a petition of complaint. He was a comedy star on the internet, but to his critics, one who we'll hear from in a moment, a stereotype that many thought had died out years ago. They claim he's not just laddish, but outright sexist and deeply offensive to women.
Dan O'Reilly, at best what you do is offensive, at worst it incites harassment and violence.
Of course he's dangerous, of course he is. He responded to a couple of female bloggers writing or taking exception to his show, as they have every right to do, by telling his many hundreds of thousands of followers to tell them to F off.
When you say you're giving advice to men on the pull, and for example you say get your gash out to women, can you deny that that would encourage men to do that?
Today, ITV said he won't be getting a second series with them, citing activities outside of the ITV2 programme.
Another line that came up, just show her your penis. If she cries, she's playing hard to get. There was a bit in the film we saw where you're holding up a knife and you say, lift up your fucking shirt.
Chandler, I mean, just because he's offensive, is it right to shut him down?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think he definitely crossed the line between what is offensive and what should just not be shown on television. He's a massive perpetrator of a culture that we have a serious issue with, and that is sexism.
To rape, and you say geezer to him as encouragement.
No. What I'm explaining to the audience is I think it's ridiculous that people are pursuing this as that.
So if women watching this say you, in your comedy, have incited violence, you've vindicated rape and rapists, what they should be doing is saying they've actually ruined your career.
No.
I mean, Daniel O'Reilly, I watched that and it shocks me for so many reasons because, number one, they're literally using the word dangerous. Remember, these are media organisations, Channel 4 News and the British Bashing Corporation, that purposefully chose to ignore the Pakistani Muslim rape gang cover-up for years. But you're the dangerous one. But actually, on a more fundamental level, right, they're taking out of context a joke and reading it out in a news studio. Like, this is madness. But at the time, and trust me, I know what it's like when you're in that storm. You're not thinking straight. You're listening to different people who are saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And so you actually felt pressured into retiring your Dapper Laughs character, which was the character which had made you a household name, made you famous. What's it like now looking back at that?
I feel really sad for the boy sitting there. I feel really sad for him. You know, I wish that it had more. I wish that it had stronger people around him, better guidance. I mean, when I initially started the Dapper Laughs character, I mean, now if you follow me on any social media, you'll see that I've got many different characters. Like more recently with the political stuff, Keir Starmer, James O'Brien, but I've got like Kid Frankie, the Sesh Gremlin. I've got all these different characters that represent different stages in my life that are like really super exaggerated. And when I leaned into Dapper Laughs, that was because at the time actually I had my own business when I'd come off the cruise ships doing comedy, and I really wanted to differentiate myself from my stand-up comedy because on the cruise ships it's all like family friendly.
Yes, exactly. And that's the point we should make. Dapper Laughs was not you.
No, yeah, it's exactly.
It's like the whole Keith Lemon thing.
Exactly.
So it maybe like, takes on certain aspects of you, but it's not you.
Yeah, of
You're
course.
a character.
I mean, comedy, character comedy especially, is an exaggerated version, right? And I really wanted to push the boundaries, and it worked. And it was, you know, the actual butt of the joke was lad culture because I was exaggerating and taking the piss out of it. And when I started getting a lot of criticism from it, the execs at ITV and my management said, well, this is good, you know, like any news is good news. It's good. It's good to promote the show. Let's push it. And we'd push and push and push.
And they always want it, don't they? There's this line that they want it up until a certain point, and then when it gets too hot, you're dead to them.
Yeah. But I look back on it now, and I wish I'd been a bit more like your Ricky Gervaises and your Jimmy Carrs, and you know where you just say, look, it's comedy.
Exactly. Fuck you.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, so many of us think like this. I mean, when my cancellation happened, Megyn Kelly, the US broadcaster, actually said to me, oh, Dan, you did the hostage video apology. And she had done the same thing. She'd been cancelled on NBC in America for simply talking about the issue of blackface. She'd never done it herself. She'd never promoted it. And when the whole world comes against you and you're being told, because you're not thinking straight. In those interviews, you would not have been thinking straight.
You want a way out of it. And I can remember, like, that's my biggest regret ever was Newsnight, going on Newsnight. And I can remember my management saying, because it was mental the way that happened. My management managed loads of other celebrities, and they were all saying, unless you get rid of him, we're going to jump ship. Because the news outlets, the mainstream media and the papers were targeting the other celebrities, saying, you're on the same roster as... And then they were doing the same to my venues. It's like, it was mental. Like, they got the tour cancelled, all of that. People even found out who my landlord was, and they were going to my mum's work. It was insanity. But basically, my father had passed away around the same sort of time, and I was losing it. I was heavily into addiction and stuff as well at the time. And my management said, the best way to stop it all is to apologise and get on there. I wish I'd gone on there and played another character. I wish I'd gone on as like a upper class, you know, oh yes, it's completely not real, and you know, like really really play
and
like,
showing your comedy chops.
Yeah, and showing what it is. It's classism.
I know, but it is, and I want to come to that.
Yeah.
But in that moment, we all have regrets, because the one thing I think anyone who's gone through a very public cancellation like that, and to be honest, until you've gone through it, it's very difficult to understand the pressure you're under. It's like the whole world is coming for you, because it touches every aspect of your life. As you say, your family life, your professional life, even your home life where you live. But the lesson is, because I apologized. I didn't apologize on air. I refused. But then afterwards, someone wrote an apology for me. It wasn't my own words, but it's like, you've got to post that, and that might save your job. Of course, it never does. So that's the thing. People need to learn never apologize.
They don't. And the thing is, one massive thing I learned from this. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know as a comedian, right, we got to find the line and we got to push it. And sometimes we do overstep the mark. There's a lot of stuff that I said back then when I was trying to be famous, when I was trying to get acknowledged, that I probably wouldn't say now. There's a lot of stuff that I probably wouldn't say now. There's lines that I probably wouldn't cross. But in any other profession, you'd lose potentially a job, but you wouldn't be exiled from your life, from your industry. You wouldn't be told you are never to work again. And in fact, there was people that were like, just die. I can't believe you're still alive. So that and one massive thing that I realised looking back on now is I used to go, I'd done a media run afterwards. Well, for about 2 years, around the time I was doing Celebrity, or about 2 or 3 years later, I managed to pluck up enough mental well-being to do Celebrity Big Brother, and I needed the money. But just before that, I thought I'll do a media run and see if I can fix this. And I was going, look, now that I've had a daughter, and I can see how some of my comedy could have incited something for people that didn't understand it and the response that I used to get from the journalists was, oh, right, so you need us to teach you not to rape. And I used to, and I went through a stage of thinking, no, I can just convince them. Looking back on it now, it's like they're fucking nutters.
100%.
They're maniacs.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? That once
100%.
they got their teeth into you, they're like, and now that I'm selling out, I've just sold out a tour and I've got another tour coming, I've got a film coming out and all of this beautiful stuff. There's still people now, I still go to, I was at a gig at Unleashed Comedy running some material for my new tour, and there was a female comedian there, and she come to me and she said, a lot of other female comedians said that I shouldn't be on the bill because just because you have daughters now doesn't mean you're not a sexist, misogynistic pig. And I was like, wow, they just can't stand that I didn't die.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
It's mental.
No, it is. It absolutely is. And it really does show the mindset. And we've seen it over the past couple of weeks after the reaction to Charlie Kirk's assassination. God, death isn't enough. And this is why I think we sometimes have to lean into this, right? And actually talk about it, because I've experienced it too. I felt at the time, it's like, these people will not be happy until I die. But then what's so crazy is even then once you die, they still want to celebrate it.
It's crazy because when I talk to other people, I mean, I never really understood all this left and right stuff early on in my comedy career because I wasn't interested in politics. I really wasn't. I just wanted to make people laugh.
Yep.
But the more I think it was through COVID or through lockdown and stuff like that, where I was taking the piss out of Boris Johnson I used to watch the things on TV and they'd come on and they'd go, right, today's rules are you can go to the pub but only till 10:30.
Yes.
And today's rules are, someone can bring a pint glass over to you but they can't hand it to you even though they fucking put it on there. And I used to listen to these rules and I'd think, fuck me, the politicians think we are so thick. They're speaking down to us so I started creating characters to play politicians to show how dumb they think the working class or the average people are. And that's when I got into it. And when I started putting that stuff out, and I'd question things like tax, like what we're getting taxed on, or I'd question other little bits, and I was branded far right. I'd go, fucking hell, I didn't even know what far right was. Then I looked into what far right was. I was like, fuck. So then I went, well, what's far left? Yeah. And that's how I got into it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can have a simple mindset on something very simple about what's going on in the country, and someone can say to you, you're a far right racist. And then I looked into it and I was like, wow, this is... And recently, after the Charlie Kirk thing, like what you said, I thought now I understand how dangerous that wording is. And we just saw it with the marches, the way that they're labelling the marches far right, fascist, and everything.
Have you noticed the Kingdom rally?
Yeah, and you think to yourself, there are nutters out there that will go, oh right, these guys are like Hitler, so we've got to kill them.
100%.
It's mental.
100%.
You know?
It is absolutely terrifying. Just before we move on to that, though, can I ask you about Emily Maitlis specifically? Because she now has a track record of being a career killer. It's something that she thrives on. And I believe, just like she went into the interview with Prince Andrew, I believe she went into that interview with you to finish you off. You know, that was her plan. It was never to give you a fair opportunity to tell your side of the story. I mean, you saw it. I mean, it was an ambush.
Yeah.
It was an ambush. Can you just talk me through a little bit about what happened during that circumstance? Because I know with Prince Andrew's interview, for example, he actually thought it had gone okay. Did you feel that, or were you like, "Oh God, I should not have done this"?
It was terrifying. I mean, I was drinking really heavily around that time anyway, so I don't know how sober I was for it because I couldn't bear to leave the house. People talking to me and stuff like that. But when they said to do it, we got down to the studios and she came in and she was really nice. Before she came in, she met me and she reassured me, and you know, she was really nice. So I kind of relaxed and I thought, oh, it's going to be all right. And what I intended to do with that interview originally, which I never done, was to explain it's a character, and I understood that I'd pushed it too far, and that, you know, although 60,000 people had signed a petition to cancel me and 40 odd comedians had signed an open letter to shut me down, there was still millions upon millions of people that followed my social media that understood it. And I wanted to explain that, but as soon as she started firing stuff at me, I just outright was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," and da da da. It was horrific, man. It was like terrifying. Like I knew straight away as soon as she started that I was well out. I'm not the man I am now. Like right now, I'm 3 and a bit years sober. I've got a lot of clarity. I can articulate myself well. I've done like 7 years media since then. Back then, I was a kid off a council estate that suddenly got famous on Vine and Facebook and that. I found it difficult back then to string a sentence together without swearing. You know, so I just knew I was out of my depth and I just rolled over.
And what about the consequences? Because again, I've spoken to people who are very close to Prince Andrew after the interview with Emily Maitlis, and people don't realise, and look, Prince Andrew, that's a separate conversation, right? But he's a human being who has not been found guilty of any crime. And I know for a fact that after that Emily Maitlis interview, he had serious psychiatric concerns. You know, it impacted him deeply. It changed the course of his life. And there was no aftercare. Do you know what I mean? Because Emily Maitlis and the BBC had got what they wanted, which was the headline and the scalp. Did you have a similar sort of experience after that interview?
Man, I mean, like right now, I've, by the way, I've spoken about it a few times, quite a bit before, but I've had a really sort of horrific mental health journey. I mean, I've got this band on my wrist here, which is my actual mental health charity, Men and Their Emotions. Like off the back of everything I went through, I built this charity. I've got 50,000 lads in this group on Facebook that are all talking because so something positive has come out of it. But when I came out the back of that, I believed that there was something wrong with me. I came out of that thinking, oh, fucking hell, maybe I am. And my family's been affected by sexual violence, right? So I had people in my family going, "What? So you're pro-rape?" And I was like, I couldn't understand because of the way that things had been twisted. I went into a bout of thinking, well, I have done wrong and I do deserve this, and maybe I shouldn't be here. And that, coupled with the way that I coped with alcohol and drugs, ultimately led to me being suicidal. And I wanted to take my own life, and I nearly did take my own life one night. And I actually, luckily, rang the Samaritans. And off the back of that, it took me a good 5 years after that to get sober. But I shared that whole journey online, and it's really a journey of accountability for my own actions with addiction, but also speaking to men that have gone through stuff and hated themselves. Because suicide is all about shame and guilt and self-loathing and low self-esteem. And I've managed to pull myself out the back of that, and something positive has come out of it with the charity. But, you know, you look at other people in the media that haven't survived that, you know. 100%. And I look at those situations and I do think to myself, if I had taken my own life back then, bar my family and my friends and a few of my supporters, no one would have given a fuck in the media. It would have been a victory.
100%, because they don't care at that point, because you are not a human being. And I think about this a lot, because, you know, if I didn't have the support of my now fiance and my family going through what I did, it would have been very, very difficult, because everyone else walks away, right? I mean, did a lot of your friends, because especially if you're part of an industry, did a lot of your friends walk away?
No, I'm quite lucky that my friends aren't stupid. They're like working class, real people. Like, they understand that comedians make jokes. Do you know what I mean? Like, you go to a comedy club, majority, I think something like 70% of the British public understand that comedy is subjective and it's not for everyone. I mean, if it pisses me off when people say to me, you know, you're just not funny, fuck off. I'm like, yeah, to you, it's subjective, right? So I can be offensive and not funny to you, but to someone else I am. Like, you wouldn't tell people to stop listening to classical music and listen to something else, right? And some of my friends didn't like my comedy. Some of my friends thought it was too much, but none of them turned their back on me. I was lucky about that. Me and my now wife broke up back then, because I pushed her away because I was drinking and doing drugs. But she stayed there and waited for me and got back together with me and helped me rebuild my life. But just going back to Emily Maitlis, I keep tabs on her social media, and to be honest with you, when I look at where she is now and what she's doing and what I'm doing, I look at it and I'm like, fucking hell, you're crank. Like,
yes.
If you look at, and I never really comment too much on people. There's a lot of comedians that tried to fuck me over back then. Yeah. That said stuff about me, you know, like Jason Manford, and then later on he gets caught wanking online and all this. There's loads of stuff like there's loads of comedians, loads of celebrities, Jack Whitehall, loads of them that
all get your moment.
They all have their moment after, and I like to maybe because of my sobriety or just my love for life now. I never really go, look at you, you know, Reggie Yates done a whole piece on me, and then whatever. But Emily Maitlis, I just wrote a little thing under one of her tweets recently. It's like, when I read these comments that you get on your tweets, it really makes me realise, you know, who is who in themselves. Do you know what I mean? Because I believe morally, I mean, I know I'm a dickhead. I know I can be a knob, right? But morally, I believe in like love and compassion, and I try and spread positivity.
Well, look,
and she gets slated online.
100 for good reason. But look, I think you're completely right to point that out, because she set out to destroy your life. And the thing is, there are consequences of this, right? I mean, I don't know if you heard, because again, it got very, very little coverage in the mainstream media, but it really impacted me, actually. I didn't know him at all. I knew friends of him, but recently a former Conservative MP called David Warburton took his own life.
No,
now,
I didn't know that.
He had been falsely accused of sexual allegations, but then the newspapers, I think it was The Sun, revealed that he had apparently snorted some cocaine. He lost everything, right? He lost everything. I've spoken to his friends about this. He lost his wife. He lost his career. He was, I think he became an Amazon delivery driver. In his final days.
And he couldn't take the shame and guilt.
And he couldn't take the shame and guilt because there was no path out. And just what you're saying is true. He took his own life, and there was no...
Be kind. There's no...
No, there was no reflection from the media. And when it was spoken about, I think Keir Starmer spoke about it in PMQs, there was no actual discussion about the fact... This is the consequence of not just false allegations, because I know you were not subjected to false allegations. What you were subjected to was hysteria, absolute media hysteria over a joke. Yeah. And I really do think people like Emily Maitlis need to look about the consequences. But then, as you say, they're cranks, because I've looked at their coverage over the past few days of Charlie Kirk.
No,
Charlie Kirk is dead, and they're still lying about him, and they're still trying to damage him with lies and claim he was a homophobe. And, you know,
I put something online about that, you know, about different things. And recently I am a little bit, I do have the guts now to be a bit more outspoken. Well, I'm really outspoken. Because
we like that here.
Yeah, I don't give a shit anymore. And I used to look at the left, or I used to look at this like far left, or these people, and I used to be like, so I need to be morally like you, and you're so like Emily Maitlis was interviewing me, and I'm like, I can remember thinking, oh right, so I've got to make them like me, like she needs to like me in order for me to be successful on TV. Now I look at them as a bunch of fucking nutters. I'm like, you have like James O'Brien and that Lewis geezer. I don't know who he is.
Oh, Lewis Goodall.
But when he was talking about 100% inheritance tax the other day, I was like, why the fuck would we bother working? Like, why would I bother working? The only reason I do anything is for my kids. And then I'm like, you're completely detached with the real people on the ground that are dealing with real stuff. And I suddenly started getting this sense of pride about how I felt and my views. And that's where I'm at now. And the comments, like I said, the replies to Emily Maitlis tweets just make me go, yeah, you are a crank.
Yes, absolutely. Now, is Dapper Laughs back? Because certainly your ex account is still named Dapper Laughs. And obviously, because obviously you killed off Dapper Laughs at the time. No. Is Dapper Laughs back?
No. Dapper Laughs was a character that was stereotyping lad culture. And I'm a father of 3 daughters, and now, actually, just a few days ago, a brand new baby boy.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. Finally, I didn't think I had it in me. And I've got a wife and business, and so my comedy now is I like to do a variety of characters, but the accounts are all, so
like, it's a brand.
It's like it's just the account name.
It's a brand because it's what people know.
Yeah, but like our tour is Daniel O'Reilly, which actually has been very difficult because a lot of people don't know me as Daniel O'Reilly, and we had to start off with the last tour that we done. Just because we couldn't get venues, there was still a lot of stigma around it. We had to start off with 2 or 3 venues to try and sell them out. And as Daniel O'Reilly, we pushed it out. We weren't sure if people were going to go, who the fuck is Daniel O'Reilly?
But when you say you had a problem with venues, they were still not prepared to book you?
Yeah, the media, even though on a scale of fucking, I don't know, someone that's really, really
Hugh
like family
Edwards.
friendly. I'm talking about comedians, but on the scale of like Michael McIntyre to
Jim Davidson.
To Jim Davidson, yeah.
Where are you?
I'm probably just past. I'm probably just underneath Jimmy Carr and just below. I'm talking about fame. I'm talking about. I'm talking about
how controversial.
How controversial. I'm nowhere close to as controversial as say Ricky Gervais is, and like the way he does it is brilliant. So it blows my mind that they're like they believed what the media had sown for so long that the owners of the theatres were literally like, well, who's going to come? Is it going to be filled full of misogynistic, sexist rapists? What's he going to say? So I had to get 2 or 3 shows out for people to believe in it. But money talks, man. Once I started selling out shows, the next thing we had 60 sellouts.
That's amazing.
And then we're on to more. But yeah, I can't remember what the original thing you was asking.
Actually, what I want to do is just because for people who don't know, and this is where I have really got into your comedy, is that you have become increasingly political, commentating on the state of the United Kingdom today. I love it. Here's just a little selection of some of your best bits, as they say.
Angela Rayner was advised by cheap lawyers. I've given her the phone number to the very same lawyers that we used to fight the will of the people in Epping. She will never lose again. In fact, she will go on to avoid tax in different areas.
Did you hear about the shopkeeper that put a sign up saying that his cabinets are locked because of scumbag shoplifters? That's fair enough, isn't it? You can say that, can't you? If people are robbing your business and you're pissed off about it? No, mate. Not in England anymore. Last night, the BBC, and I feel like vomiting into my groin as I say this, announced that Thomas Bosch Skinner will be appearing on my wife's and my wife's boyfriend's favourite TV show, Strictly Come Dancing. What are they going to ask for tax for next? 10p tax on breathing? How about that one? That's going to be a new one, monitored by mandatory government-issued smart nose clips. Do you know what I mean? To count inhalations. If you're breathing British oxygen, you need to pay the HMRC. Demonstrably divine. I mean, migrants are an economic bunch of titans, while British workers, as we both know, are astonishingly parasitic. In an ideal world, we'll replace every single Brit with a migrant. Imagine the prosperity. Greater Manchester Police sent detectives, you heard me right, detectives, to an old granny's door because she typed out on Facebook that Labour councillors are muppets and they should quit over the WhatsApp scandal.
Okay, so this is so me. This is so me, Daniel. It's like, this is the type of comedy that I need in my life because there is so much going on in the United Kingdom today, which is absolutely insane that we've got to start laughing at it. Because what I think you're doing is bringing a lot of the absurdity about what's going on to a mainstream audience. But talk to me about that move into what I would describe, I don't know if you described it as this, but very political comedy now.
I think that I represent a huge unrepresented demographic. All right, like I've got friends of mine that have got certain views about things that are going on, and they know that, you know, if they talk to certain people about it, that they're just deemed like bigots, racists, and all of this jazz. And also, I think actually, I was pushed more into political satire by the press. Like when I read the way that the press talks about the issues in the UK, and also about how they talk about other people that talk about the issues. For instance, now, if you have a right-leaning view on, say, for instance, you think, I would have conversations with people where you talk about things like, you know, the people that are coming into the country, they should be checked. You know, we should know who's coming in. They shouldn't just be dumped into local communities and put into hotels. It scares the local population. Actually, the government have a responsibility for the divide within the country, because that process should be better somehow. And then you're called a gammon, or you're called like all of these names. I suddenly thought, well, who's on the other side? Who's on the other side getting this message out without coming across as just like a fucking, like what they say, a gammon? And comedy can spread a message like that. You know, you got to speak for people. And basically, just because I was getting pissed off at the state of the UK and how it's run, and actually the hypocrisy, like politicians. They just say they're going to do one thing, and then when it doesn't work, they change to do something else, and it's just a load of bollocks, isn't it?
It is, but you quite rightly make the point that so much of this comes down to classism.
Yeah.
And your background is obviously as a working class.
Yeah, I grew up on a council
lad.
estate, yeah.
Where was that?
I grew up on a council estate in Weybridge, which sounds pretty ironic because it's quite posh, like Weybridge, Surrey. But me and my mum and my sister, my mum and dad broke up when I was young. Me, my mum and my sister went into just council accommodation from a very young age, from when I was about 4 or 5. I had multiple different houses growing up. My friends are all, real working class lads.
And I think one of the biggest scandals probably of the UK for the past 20 years, to be completely honest, is that actually the most deprived group in society, and this is now proven, right? You won't hear about it in the mainstream media, but it's backed up by multiple statistics, is white, working class English boys.
Yeah.
And actually, you could say the same thing about Welsh boys and Scottish boys too, but the statistics that I've looked at are specifically in regards to England.
Yeah.
But no one talks about that group.
I mean, do you know what the crazy thing is? Like, I like, now that I'm out doing the comedy circuit again, trying to test material for gigs, my comedy director is like, that place won't have you. That place won't have you. There's no point even applying to that place. There's places that are like, you know, if you're gay, if you're trans, if you're black, if you're, you know, left-leaning, fantastic. Right-leaning, white, working class, straight male, fucking no way.
Oh, no.
No way. Like, it just said something. And that's really scary. Also, like, you had the same thing with Tom Skinner. I'm constantly talking about my family. I'm constantly talking about sobriety, about changing my life for my family, how to be a good dad and stuff like that. And that feels like that's knocked. But yeah, it's a surreal thing. I always used to, it wasn't because I was such a drunken mess while I was getting cancelled. It wasn't until afterwards that I realised that rape jokes or jokes that are deemed misogynistic and sexist, although unintelligent and whatever, at the beginning of my career, I was not saying anything that was anywhere near as bad as what Jimmy Carr was saying. But I realised quite early on that the difference is, if you're well-spoken, 100%. Say Oxford educated, people in the press or out there will go, well, he's clearly intelligent enough to be being ironic. If you speak like this, they're like, fucking, that's dangerous, because the people that follow him are so thick.
100%.
They'll believe 100%.
It. Well, that's what they think. It's the Douglas Murray versus Tommy Robinson thing, right? They say virtually the same thing, but Douglas Murray, who I'm also friends with, really great guy, but he says it in a posh voice. He's Oxbridge educated, so it's considered acceptable.
Yeah.
There is that classism. And so presumably the jokes that you were making, though, are the jokes that you would have been making down at the pub with your friends. And And this is, I almost feel like a demonization of the white working classes, which has happened, especially since Tony Blair came into power in 1997. And I do feel like the British public have had enough of that now.
Oh, they don't like the British public, especially people on social media. I mean, I've put something out quite controversial this morning that I was telling you about the marches yesterday, watching all the coverage of how the press are covering it. But the British public, like normal people, don't want to be told what to laugh at. They don't want to be told. They don't want to be educated on their taste in humour. They're over that now. And I just think that, you know, what I believe in now, right, is expression, right? If I think something, I shouldn't have to double check how it's going to come across. I just want to express how I feel. And all the way back then, when I was writing those jokes that were considered misogynistic or whatever, right? There's a process in my mind where I go, right, this is one word that has two meanings. That would be funny if I can craft that into a sentence. For instance, you know, and my character that I was working on at the time was a lad orientated, like he was out shagging girls, partying, doing drugs, right? So I've got my subject matter, shagging girls, partying, doing drugs. Right, I need one word that has two meanings. So I'll come up with a joke that might be like, and then I'll get an actress to play in the sketch and I'll be like, excuse me, miss, can I smell your fanny? And then she'll be like, no. And I'll say, oh, well, it must be your feet then. Yeah. Right? So I've gone through this process of writing and crafting it down on a piece of paper. With the backing of the character in my mind. I shoot it and put it out and they go, sexist, misogynistic prick. You're like, yeah, that's the joke. Point. That's the joke. And the difference is between people sat down the pub, lads and geezers sat down the pub, and someone like Emily Maitlis on the news is they go, oh, right, I see what he did there. That's fucking silly, that is. They don't go, oh, so what, he wants to rape people?
100%.
You're like, fucking hell. And I did get to the point where I was like, just fuck comedy, man. Like, what's the point if I can't, like, because what I find is quite like out there, because I grew up that way. You know?
And also, well, comedy is actually meant to.
Of course it is. You don't go to a comedy club. Yeah, you don't go to a comedy club to hear your nan speak, do you?
No, and it's exaggerated, but it does make wider points on society. And also, one of the points of certain comedy too is for people to sometimes reflect and look at themselves and think, well, actually, maybe I do go a bit too far sometimes. But to me, so much of this criticism, right, is, and especially in the entertainment industry. Remember, I was there for, you know, a long time too, working at woke ITV, as I call it now, for 10 years. And I saw the change, you know, I literally saw the change happen. But there is so much what I describe as acceptable anti-white racism now, where if you're white, you will be told that you are losing your job because you are white, because we need to bring in a DEI hire, for example. Do you feel like there is an acceptable level of anti-white racism in a way that there wouldn't be if it was any other form of protected characteristic, be it asexuality or a, you know, and a religion? You know, it almost feels like attacking the majority white native population has become acceptable.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've experienced it recently with my film. I wrote a film called Sessions, which is a film that is loosely based on my life, which is about cocaine culture, session culture in the UK, how it gripped a whole generation, and it's predominantly about, because it's from my perspective, white working class kids getting on the sniff at the weekend. Obviously, there's different people that involved in it and all that jazz, but when I took it out there, because it was about mental health, the family unit, and suicide in men. When I took it out there to try and get funding, I had a lot of people come back. Well, first of all, we can't have you play the lead, which I did. In the end, I funded it myself because I wanted to play the lead. It was my story, but
so you're playing yourself.
It's because it's loosely based on my experience. It is dramatized. It's cinematically dramatized, so it's got a crime element to it and all of that. But I've done many films. I'm an actor before I was a comedian, but they wanted a more diverse storyline. Somebody actually pulled funding quite close to shooting because they wanted to shoehorn more of a trans or an LGBT element into it to make it wider and more accessible, or for the distributors, or easier to sell, more commercial. And it really angered me because I believe that there's a massive underrepresented audience of white, British, straight men or whatever, their stories that now especially the working class aspect of it, that that commissioners and everyone out there will go, do we not have something a little bit more progressive? And it's that story that I wanted to tell. It's for a specific reason. So, and that coupled with trying to get gigs and getting put forward to reality TV shows, I keep having old agents come back to me and say, "Oh, we've put you forward for this," and I'm like, "Oh," and they've come back and gone, "No, actually, they're going with this," and you're like, "Well, stop putting me forward for stuff like that."
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, in some ways, everyone has to just give up on the mainstream media, but let them die their own death, because you look at, I mean, because for me, what I've never understood about this, right, is surely the whole point of diversity on screen is that you reflect the makeup of the population. So it'd be very weird if you were watching a Japanese drama, right, and there were 50% white people in it, given that the Japanese population is predominantly Japanese. But in this country, I feel it's gone mad. It's gone completely mad. I mean, ITV in particular now, you would genuinely believe that we live in a population very often where it was even minority white in some occasions. So I do feel like it's gone mad because it's not diversity if you are actually over-representing certain groups of the population.
Yeah, I think that you can. I think audiences are smart, and I think that you can see when it's been shoehorned in. I mean, my friends in the film are very diverse. So I've got black, white friends, everything in the film. But for me, I have a gay character in the film, actually played by Paul Smith, the comedian. You know the comedian Paul Smith, massive comedian. He plays a gay drug dealer. But when people come to me and said, we need some trans stuff in there,
you're like, that's a bridge too far.
No, I've got nothing against it, but I was just like, my audience will go, why the fuck? Like, what's this got to do? What has cocaine culture, based on my story through mental health and suicide, 100%. Got to do? I've watched stuff on, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've watched brilliant pieces with trans stuff in and all that. I don't have any particular, opinion on it. I think, be who you want to be. I couldn't give a shit as long as it doesn't get pushed on me or my kids. Do what you want to do. Be and I'd be perfectly happy being friends with people and blah, whatever. But when you watch something and then boom, suddenly there's a trans person in and you're like, oh, what's that got to do with this?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And audiences are quite aware of that.
But well, of course they are, because isn't this behind the death though of British comedy? Because look, I think back. Not actually that long ago, right? We're probably talking 15 years ago. Look at a genuinely iconic series that had genuine crossover, like The In-Betweeners. It would never, ever be made today.
No
the
way.
4 lead characters are white and straight.
Yeah.
It would never be made.
Yeah, and it was some of the funniest shit you've ever seen in your life.
Because it was realistic.
They even fucked Doctor Who up, didn't they?
I mean more than fucking. I mean, it's over.
Yeah. I mean,
it's over.
And look at what
it became a diversity parade.
Yeah, and Jaguar fucked. I mean, and again, people may watch this and say, "Oh, you're bigger, you're better," and all that. It's not. It's I don't want my intelligence insulted. I want to be able to have my taste catered for. You know what I mean? Can I have my taste catered for? And it cost me. It cost me a lot of stress making this film, actually, because
so because you wouldn't go down that diversity
funding,
path.
I lost funding.
And you have had to fund the film yourself.
I funded part of it myself, but I put myself under a lot of pressure to go out, to continue the project and then try and fund it while I was continuing. So to go out and find investors while I was doing it. And, it's like I wrote a gay part, I wrote, and not because I wanted to put, not because I wanted to put a gay person in. I wrote a gay part because I thought, how cool would it be for the drug dealer to be scary and gay? Like, how cool would that character be? The character itself would be. And actually, Paul was like, I love it. Like, can I kiss a guy in it? And and all this stuff. And it grew. It wasn't because I was like, oh, gay people will like this. It was because it made the story more interesting. But when someone come to me and said, what would be even better is trans, I was like, well, now it's fiction. Does that sound weird?
No, it's so depressing, though. Right. But we know this. I mean, we absolutely know this because... Look at the films that get all of the big funding now. Look at even the new rules
Yeah, but they're not popular.
No,
They're
of
films.
course they're not.
They come out and people are like, that's shit.
100%, 100%. And I think there are just huge lost opportunities. But this is why we are actually reinventing what the media is. And I guess that's the very positive thing. I mean, look at your story. It is crazy. You emerged through social media, right? So kid from a council estate, given this platform for your comedy because of social media. But actually, I would argue your comeback has also now been driven by social media because people don't necessarily anymore want to go and sit down and watch a highly produced 30-minute sitcom, which you've got to tune into on the BBC. There's a very different way of people accessing the content that they want.
Yeah, and what I find weird as well is that, you know, some people may not like some of my stuff, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I still follow people to get an informed perspective on stuff. And if I see something I don't like from someone, I think, oh, that's a bit shit. I don't go, you're unfollowed, I fucking hate you, how dare you, cancel him. I'm just like, I don't understand where people have gone loopy.
It's a nutty world for you.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting, though, is that people in the past would have assumed someone with a background like yours would naturally be a Labour Party supporter. Did you used to be? Like, I know you said you weren't political, but did you sort of have that feeling of like, yep, you know, the Tories are bad, you know, Nigel Farage is a racist. Did you sort of have that mindset?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, to be completely honest, and I'm going to make myself sound stupid, I had no interest in politics. Like, I mean, zero interest, like to the point where I
wouldn't vote.
I didn't intend on ever voting. I had... I didn't think that my voice could change the way, and in fact, I wanted to go in a different route to the way the country was going. I didn't want to believe that, and this is going to sound really stupid probably, but I didn't want to fall into the mindset that a group of people in Parliament will decide how successful or what's going to happen in my life. I honestly thought whatever's going on over there is going to happen. I'm making money. And I'm going to build my own future over here. It wasn't until actually lockdown and COVID that I went, fuck, they can fuck us. Like, I need to get involved in this. I need to, and I was old then.
I always describe it as like a radicalization moment. Everyone has one. It's like that moment where you wake up and then once you're awake, it's pretty impossible to ignore.
And then to watch Boris ruling the country, I was like, what's going on, mate? This, and also endless content. I was like, fucking, this is brilliant. And then
when you were locked up,
and I really got into it, but I still don't know. I still don't really know.
You're not party political.
No, I still don't know where I lie. You know, where I'll be voting or where I lie. I try not to like really. But when it comes up to the next election, I'm going to have to put my flag in the sand.
What about this sort of interesting row that's going on, I would say, amongst, well, a lot of working class people between Nigel Farage and Reform UK and Tommy Robinson and his Uniting the Kingdom rally? That's quite divisive. Like, where do you stand on that?
I really don't know. I mean, I don't know. What I'd need to do is really look into what their policies are. I try to see what they're saying and see where I lie, but I don't know. I certainly don't know enough about United Kingdom. It feels brand new to me. Do they even have hardcore policies?
Well, no, because obviously Tommy's like not wanting to be a politician, but Advance UK is the political arm which is led by Ben Habib. He used to be the deputy leader of Reform UK. But it's interesting to me because I guess what I see happening is Nigel Farage, who was the working class hero, potentially being usurped. It's almost like the closer you come to power, the more establishment you become. And obviously the risk, in my view, is that Reform UK ends up being a bit more like the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean. Like, is there anyone who you see who excites you, who you think, oh gosh, I could get behind this person. I could see them becoming Prime Minister. Like, do we have a Trump figure? I mean, some people, for example, reckon it's Jeremy Clarkson, who's like just waiting there to be, you know.
Probably Tom.
He doesn't want to do
Skinner.
It. Tom Skinner, yes.
No, I don't know. That Ben Habib talks a lot of sense, doesn't
he
it?
does.
I think he does. But Farage is a difficult one, isn't he? Because I don't know. It's a really difficult one. But one thing I will say is what I do like about Farage and Trump and stuff like that is they don't beat around the bush and they speak in real terms that we can understand.
Yes.
I don't trust a word that comes out of Starmer's mouth. I believe that he talks. He says whatever the most popular thing to say 100%. Is, and you've got to respect.
He's
people.
an empty vessel.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's I like to take the hypocrisy and take the piss out of it.
But the thing is, you joke about Tom Skinner.
Yeah.
But something really quite chilling has gone on over the past few weeks. Not too dissimilar to what happened to you.
Because what? Because he waved a flag once on GB News.
Well, yeah, but he basically was signed by the British Bashing Corporation, as I call it.
The what?
The BBC.
Oh, right, yeah, okay.
To be the star of Strictly Come Dancing. And the left decided they're going to ruin the guy. I mean, I've been reading in newspapers. I really like Tom Skinner. I've been reading in newspapers that he's had to give an interview sobbing because he, cheated on his wife 3.5 years ago. Now, look, to me, that's his personal issue. I feel horrendous about the fact that they are literally out to destroy this guy because he's been booked on Strictly Come Dancing.
Because he's patriotic.
Well, he's a threat. He is a threat because the thing is, you laugh about Tom Skinner being Prime Minister. Well,
he's pals with J.D. Vance, isn't he?
Exactly. I was going to say, who did J.D. Vance choose to meet when he came to the United Kingdom? He didn't meet Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the Conservative Party. So I don't laugh about those things because I'm like, everyone was laughing about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Being president, even in 2015, when he launched his campaign, literally. So I don't laugh about Tom Skinner potentially. I think Ant Middleton running to be the mayor of London is really interesting because I feel like we need to find leaders who actually represent us. Do you see what I mean? And to me, Tom Skinner represents the people of this country far, far more than Slippery Starmer ever would. So I don't...
100%. I'd prefer him than fucking Sadiq Khan and all of that stuff. But it is really, really interesting, isn't it? Crazy. It's crazy when you think about it. Like, and where did that feed into? And I saw people online linking Rylan with Tom Skinner, saying that Tom Skinner had radicalised Rylan. I fucking like. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
I thought that was hilarious.
Well, what did you make of that? Because again, I found this an example of the establishment media, the mainstream media, in this case, woke ITV, but it was also all of the newspapers that went mad for this, trying to get Rylan cancelled, for saying something which actually, if you looked at the polling, probably over 80% of the country would agree that illegal migrants should not be able to enter this country without us knowing where they are and then be handed iPads by charities at hotels. Again, he was portrayed as some type of far right monster.
I think it's shocking. It was absolutely mental that people went, hold on a sec, did he say iPads? Did he say iPads? Because have we got proof?
Yeah.
It's iPads. Because he said iPads, everything that he said is irrelevant.
100%.
It's fucking mental.
And by the way, can I just say on that iPad thing, because this has really been annoying me, all of the fact checks are like, oh, well, the government doesn't give them iPads, but all of the charities, all of these hard left charities are there on the first fucking moment. These people are off the boat, handing them iPads, handing them mobile phones, which they then use in the illegal economy, by the way, to traffic drugs, to set up prostitution deals, or by the way, to come and deliver our bloody food on Uber Eats.
It's like when you say to someone, "Did you watch that hour-long video that Tommy Robinson did that had 50 million views?" And they go, "You know, his name's not Tommy." You're like, fucking hell. Oh, mate. Oh, wicked. But no, I thought it was crazy. Because, and do you know what it is? People go, what else I thought was people went, oh, I'm so proud of Rylan for standing up for us and putting his career on the line on TV. Do you know what the truth of it is? He's just going, well, I don't think that you should be able to break in. I think that we should know who you are, and people are worried about it. He didn't think he was putting his career on the fucking line. He thought he was just talking common sense. You go back years and years or go back and go and ask your grandma and granddads or great grandma and granddads what they think, and they'll be like, yeah, shouldn't we have borders? Like the amount of shit the UK has caused all over the world.
Totally.
You'd think we should double check who's 100%. Coming in. It's mental.
It was a total common sense position, which I think does show how far the mainstream media have fallen. But I'm so happy that you are back. And so tell me, where can people see you, or is the tour completely sold out?
No. We are kicking off the tour in October. I would love for you guys to all come down. I'm going 60 different dates. It goes.
I've got to come to one.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Friday and Saturdays for a whole year. I'm touring over the whole country.
Really?
Yeah, 1,000 seaters, 500 to 1,000 seaters. We definitely are in a town near you, 20 minutes to an hour max away from you. You can get tickets on any of my social medias. Follow me on Instagram.
This is almost like as close to a day job of comedy as
it is. It will be. And the beautiful thing about being able to being on tour every week is whatever's going on in the news, I'll have a certain part of the show where I'll be talking about.
So you update it?
Well, I'll be talking about current affairs. There's a lot of audience interaction, and there is a solid segment about the show, which I'll tell you what the show is called. Let's Have It, right? So originally, when I first went out on tour, we had to call it Out of Character because we had to tell the establishment Dapper Laughs was a character, right? So we had to call it Out of Character to get in through the front door. Now we're through the front door. It's called Let's Have It. It's like no holds barred. It is basically a look at how the world has changed. You know, it's a nostalgic look back at how things used to be to how they are and how fucked up everything in between is. But it is a night of laughter. And, you know, again, I'm always seeing where the line is. So you never know when it's going to be my last show. So get your fucking tickets quick.
And all the dates are on your Instagram, which is at Dapper Laughs?
Yeah, Dapper's Instagram on Instagram, Dapper Laughs on Twitter. Twitter, I'm a lot more political.
Yes.
Instagram's a lot more family friendly stuff, although I did just chuck my Tommy Robinson March video up on Instagram. And go and have a look at the comments. There's always a good argument going on. It's good fun.
Yeah, no, well, look, I am so glad you're back because I honestly believe, I think the same thing with Katie Hopkins too. There's a big market in live because that's what the establishment cannot control.
Yeah.
You've got the issue with venues. I know that, but as you say, once you start selling out venues, then they'll sort of come on board. And I think it's really interesting, really, really interesting.
Thanks for having me, man. And I'll be honest with you, when I saw you sharing a couple of my videos, I was like, oh man, that's lovely.
No, I love them. Yeah. I use them sometimes in my my digest because sometimes I honestly feel like things are so crazy. Sometimes only a comedian can actually sum up the madness. Do you know, like the one I played earlier about Angela Rayner? I used it in my digest the other day because I'm like, this is insane. Starmer's literally trying to defend this woman.
I see it. Like when I saw Keir Starmer with Donald Trump, I genuinely got angry. I was like, when he's like, no, we have freedom of speech here completely. And no, 30,000 illegal immigrants went back. No. And Trump's like, oh, you're doing a great job. Gaslighting the whole of the UK. 100%. I'm like, give me my phone.
Well, gaslighting the whole world.
Yeah.
But no, it's so brilliant to have you back because, you know, for me, I'm all about uncancelling people.
Well, maybe after this I'll be cancelled again. You know? I don't know what I've said. What have I said? I don't know.
No, you've been very, very good. Daniel O'Reilly. Dapper Laughs. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you so much for your company on this special Uncancelled Interview edition of Outspoken. We have amazing people coming up for you. Actually, let me tell you who's here tomorrow. Harvey Proctor is here tomorrow. Now, his story is absolutely incredible. In the same way that Daniel was cancelled by Emily Maitlis, Harvey was cancelled in the most revolting manner by James O'Brien, but he's fighting back now, and we're going to be having a fascinating conversation with him. So please do be back with us tomorrow. Remember, the Uncancelled After Show returns on Monday, but there's lots of royal content still going up on the YouTube page, so you can find it there. Greatest Britain Union Jackass returns on Monday as well, but please do sign up to our community on Substack so you can get the Uncancelled After Show first, live or on demand. The address is www.outspoken.live. But thank you so much for your company today. Please do subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble. Sign up to our podcast as well, which is available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Rate and review if you may. And remember, I will always keep fighting for you.